It's that time of year again. It's time to get in shape, but not the way you think. To get in shaped watches, that is. So over the next few minutes, we're going to be looking at some amazing shaped watches from Patek Philippe's history from yesteryear and today to look and dive deep into the world of Patek Philippe's form and shape watches from the past and present. Let's go back to the early 20th century to look at our first shaped watch. Now, we're all familiar with the classic gondolo round pocket watch, but there were very few made for special clients of shaped watches. And this cushion-shaped watch shows some hand-engraved lions in enamel that just pop from the back of the case. And you'll also see the coveted chronometro gondolo signature above 6 o'clock. I only know of one other example of this shaped gondolo watch, and it's at the Patek Philippe Museum. And it's identical to this piece, except it has Roman numerals rather than the Breguet numerals that I have here in my hand. Even 100 years ago, there were people that didn't want to have a round watch like all of their friends. There were people that wanted to have something that was a bit cutting edge, maybe a bit avant-garde. And here, these cushion-shaped watches were kind of the first rebels of their time, people trying to do something a bit different from the norm. Moving on to the 1920s, here I have a classic reference 10. These curved case watches were very desirable in the early years of wristwatch design. While a lot of people were still wearing round pocket watches, there were some people starting to wear wristwatches. And the first wristwatches were generally square or rectangular, as we have here. In this rectangular case with these exploded Arabic numerals, it gives a classic Patek Philippe design. In these 1920s oversized rectangular watches were really meant to scream status, design with this bold aesthetic, which is something that is quite popular to this day. Skipping forward to the 1960s, we have to discuss Gilbert, the great designer who came up with concepts such as the Ricochet, as we see here, and the famous asymmetricals that are some of the most coveted watches in auction rooms around the world. This particular Ricochet, reference 789, was made in the early 1960s, and you could see it has this textured look. It looks like a pebble, and that's what Gilbert was going for. He wanted to make this look like a rock that you would skip across a lake. This particular example has something quite extraordinary. It has the ability to be worn as a wristwatch. You could see these two pieces added to the back of the case by Patek Philippe, and you could see Patek Philippe's signature on each of these gold bridges that are placed on the back of this Ricochet, so that you could wear this on your wrist or carry it as a pocket watch or as a desk timepiece. This is what asymmetrical form is all about. As we go into the second half of the 20th century, form watches became the defining style of the era. Watches that had bold shapes and designs were considered the most desirable. Yes, traditionalists still wore round watches, but if you wanted to be the most stylish person, you would want to have something that was a certain form, not necessarily round, as we have here, a golden circle. The golden circle was the Patek Philippe design of choice in the 1960s. This bold design fit perfectly on the wrists. You were easily able to tell the time. And the bracelets that they put on many of these golden circle watches are works of art that played with geometry. In this case, a golden geometric mesh that plays beautifully as it juxtaposes against the golden circle of the main case. And look at the two-tone dial. It has these two beautiful tones of blue that play with the light. And when this is on your wrist, inside or outside, it completely changes as a watch as the light just emanates from this gorgeous dial. Speaking of golden circles, I recently acquired this watch that makes my heart skip, a reference 3604 in white gold. Look at this waffle textured dial in white and how it gives this monochrome look with this massive 37 by 37 millimeter case. In fact, this is one of Patek Philippe's larger watches of the era, and it wasn't until the Beta 21s came out, the large quartz watches, that were bigger than the 3604. But this watch has the coveted caliber 28-255 automatic caliber within this timepiece, which is the same caliber used with the Nautilus. So if you want something that's an interesting alternative to the Nautilus, this distant cousin gives a look that will completely change the way you look at 1970s design in a bold and beautiful way. No discussion of shaped watches can continue without discussing the beloved Ellipse, which was released by Patek Philippe in 1968, and to this day is a staple of the line. Now, this particular piece is one that I have never seen before. It's a 3747 quartz Ellipse with a bracelet that you might have seen on the 3970 perpetual chrono. This particular bracelet is called the /17, and it's massive in weight. And on the wrist, it gives this very big, bold look, which really works with the geometric form of the Ellipse. I also have two reference 3738 line 100s. Here I have a white gold with the anthracite gray dial. And I'm finding a lot of people today that are buying the 5738, they love the watch, but they always say it's a little bigger than I expected. And then I encourage them to try on the classic 3738, which is the mid-size. And today, as we're seeing tastes evolve towards smaller watches, the 3738 is becoming the watch of choice. So my advice to you is grab one while you still can, because they are reasonably priced compared to their larger counterparts. And here's the rose gold with the autumn gold color, with the beautiful iridescent brown color. I find these ellipses with unusual color dials as beautiful as any timepiece that you can buy on the market today. And they're not quite vintage. These are less than 20 years old, but they're the kind of watch that you could still buy at an attractive price point and wear, a man or a woman can wear. And it's going to definitely turn heads as you get in shape. In the world of watch design, we must discuss Gerald Genta. He pushed the envelope of all watch brands, in particular Patek Philippe. Now, we all know Genta's story with the Nautilus, but we might not know the story that this amazing painting shares. This is an original Gerald Genta painting of the Nautilips from 1978. I've yet to prove it, but I am quite sure that Gerald Genta is the inventor of the Nautilips 3770 aesthetic. Note the bracelet is exactly like we see from the Nautilus, which he designed 2 years earlier, combined with the Ellipse, which was the best seller from Patek Philippe. The fact that this original painting still exists, I think, is a testament to his forward-looking design aesthetic and also his bold interpretation of classics, the new classic of the Nautilus and the classic Ellipse. I also have an example of an actual 3770 Nautilips right here. I find 3770s, and I think many others have, based on how I've seen prices increase in the past 2 years, to be one of the most interesting reference models in the Patek Philippe's design language. It's not quite a Nautilus, it's not quite an Ellipse, but it's 100% Patek Philippe. And this particular example has its extract from the archives, made in the late 1970s, and features this amazing gilt dial. Even in more recent times, we see form watches and shaped watches become part of Patek Philippe's complicated design language. And I think the reference 5135, which came out in the early 2000s, really exemplifies the best way of making a form watch with one of the most complex cases made by Patek Philippe during that era. And this tonneau shape is just stunning in its aesthetic, and the design language of Patek Philippe is loud and clear as this large, bold timepiece continues to make people stop and look to this day. So in short, we've looked at a number of different shaped watches, and we could see that Patek Philippe is not just about round timepieces. So during this time of year, it's clearly time to get in shape and to try a watch that might not be so round and something that's shaped to perfection. Enjoy the holidays, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, and also TikTok. And until next time, enjoy the hunt.